Welcome back to Vishalchess YouTube channel. I'll start with a story here. When I was learning mathematics, people around me were afraid of mathematics. There was a common reason to it. Because people generally tend to learn the formula and do not use it in the different questions. That is where they lack. But why I am telling you a mathematics thing during a chess thing? Because I believe they are very similar. Don't be afraid. If you're bad in mathematics, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you the principles where you can apply it and be good at mathematics. So, win-win. You learn two things with the same video. And what I'll be telling you, explaining you in this video is that you learn a principle and then you apply it in different situations. How do you think? What is the thought process? What problems are you going to face? We will discuss everything in this video. So be hooked, be watching till last. So before I move forward, let me quickly say this. Most of you have mailed me to support this channel. I'm very happy to say that we have a partnership with Razorpay. If you like the content, go forward and support this channel via that link in the description and in the comments. Now, let me come back to the video. So suppose this is the example. This is the very basic foundation pattern and we will use this principle so many times that you will get that stuck in your head and you will never going to forget it. What is it? You have these two rooks sitting right beside the king and blocking its own space. The king cannot move to its left and to its right. What are the spaces to the king? The king has only three spaces to move up sides of his own, left, right, and in the center. The only thing white has to do in this situation is to block all the three places and gives a check, and that would be checkmate. Of course, you don't have to blunder your queen. We get our concept clear that we simply have to block those three spaces and give a check. We find very quickly a spot that is e6. Moving forward, you just try to remember this principle and apply it again and again in the various problems. We will be doing so many problems that will stuck in your head. Now, come on. This is the second problem that I have set it for you to memorize that problem. Not basically memorizing, you're understanding it, you're using the same principles. Now, what is happening here? The king is on the h file. It is stuck between two rooks. The same principle. What happened in the previous case? The same thing. The file is different. The row is different. And now what you do? You have to find a space where you block these three places where the king can move. How can you block it? You can simply put your queen here. Why? Because he blocks all the three places. As simple as that. Now you are learning it, you're getting it, you're finding the correct positions. Now this is a new example. What has changed in this problem? There is a pawn sitting at f5. There is a knight instead of the rook. What has changed? Nothing has changed for the king. The king still has both the places are blocked, one by the rook and one by the knight. Now again you have to block these three places and give a check. Now you have to see the only check you can give there is this rook. Can it be captured by the king? No, it cannot be captured because this pawn is supporting the rook. If the rook sits in the middle, that is a checkmate because the rook also covers up and down file. Now moving forward, it was a warm up and now you have to try more and more different problems. Here we go. Now here what is happening? The king is blocked by three of his pieces. Now the king has only two pieces to move. This g6 spot and this g8 spot, and we can see that this space g8 is also covered by the queen. Now what you have to do first, the only thought process that should come in your mind is that there is only one space for the king to move and that is g6. Is that so? No, that is also wrong because that is also covered by the queen. I am covering it to a basic level, to very amateur level or below that so that you can completely understand what is happening in the situation. Now, does this king has a place to move? Now, at this moment, the king is suffocating. It is breathless because it cannot move anywhere. Now, all you have to do is give a check and it would be a checkmate. You have this rook sitting here on h3 which you can put there and you can attack this pawn here on h6. Now what would happen? That would be checkmate, right? Because this queen is saving it and the king cannot of course move there, so that would be a checkmate. I hope you get it. If you got it, you're wrong. Why? Because there's a pawn saving it. Calculate in your head. The pawn will capture the queen. You will capture it with the rook of course and then the king will capture back. The opponent has a rook and a queen and they will make a stare and make you regret your move in so many ways that you will resign right that moment. Alright, if I capture, they'll capture by this pawn. I cannot capture back with the queen because they will simply capture. What if I capture with the queen? Again, the same problem. That would be captured with this pawn. So the main issue arises with this pawn. This is why we go to our previous concept. We realize that when we capture this with the rook and the opponent captures it with the pawn, the king has only 3 places to move. And just as we remember that in that situation, we have to put our queen in that way such that these 3 blocks are also covered and we give a check there. Queen is sitting and simply jump to f7, giving us the same situation we have applied previously. Now, all you have to do is think of the principles that you know, think of the patterns that you know, and you can apply in that situation. This is exactly what is happening here. We have solved previously 3 examples, and this is exactly the application. Now, it is very similar to the mathematics. I have told you, because the questions you have solved in examples won't come in the real situation, or if they come, that would be very easy for you. But the harder problems is like this. You have to solve like this. You have to think that what sacrifices I can make and get a knowable pattern, knowable situation where I can throw something in, sacrifice something in, and then I can get through this mate. All right, moving forward, that would be slightly harder, and I think you will be able to get it. You quickly realize, according to the patterns you remember, that the king is suffocating and his 3 places are already blocked. The king has only 2 places to move. And your queen is eyeing that g3 square where it generally places a checkmate in that situation. Clear? And then you find different ways to reach the position where you have checkmated before. The similar patterns. 2 principles are clear. 2 basic thoughts are clear. What you have to do, you have to first attack this pawn using this queen such that the rook moves in such a way that you are able to capture this pawn without giving the tempo to the king to move it. Whenever we move the rook, the opponent has a chance and they can simply move their rook also. But at this right moment, I'll tell you the concept of forcing moves. What are forcing moves? Checks, threats, captures. That if you do any of this, the opponent has to respond accordingly. Now, can you capture here something? No. Can you create a threat? Yes, you can create a threat. How is that? By the rook, you can go here and maybe pressurize this rook, but that won't be an ideal situation, but the rook can simply capture it. That would be a very bad move. What can you do next? This king knight can jump here and attack this knight, this rook there. That could be a good move, but then when you have a good move, you look for more good moves there, better moves on the board. What is that? Now you have to look all the pieces. What this queen can create a threat? No, it cannot create a threat. This black queen can offer an exchange, but that would not resemble, because that is not a clear threat where the opponent has to play according to you. The queen can also move in any direction. Now, but you have a threat that this rook can jump across and attack this queen, because the queen have to move, and then there won't be any chance for the king to move or create a space around there. If the queen moves out, the king do not have the tempo, and then we can simply capture this. If the queen captures our rook, we can still go on and capture this, and that would be a mate. So that is what happened in the match. Rook e2 was played, the queen captured it, and there you go with the mate. I hope you're getting the pattern. I hope you would remember this pattern till the day you play chess. Hey, we are not done yet. Here you go. What is happening in this situation? The black king is suffocating again. Look at the black king. When you see the black king, you generally find that the black king has a space at h8. Why? Because the king gets castled and the rook on h8 generally goes on the other side. But in this situation, it is not the same thing. So the rook is at h8, which is taking away that escape square for the king, and this is not a good situation for the black. So just when you look at this problem, you remember that the king is suffocating. Maybe there's a mate. Now focus. I want you to be in a focus state, because this is how you learn. I'm telling you, this is nowhere easy. This is easy when you realize the principles and apply it. Now in this situation, what you're going to do, now you realize that if these 2 pawns disappear, gone, and your queen somehow reaches g6, that would be a mate, because the king won't be able to come up in all these 3 places, and the queen would be capturing all those places, and that would be a checkmate. All right, you get that. How do you achieve it? Now for this queen to go here, this pawn has to go away. How can you make that? Oh, now suddenly you get to this move. If I capture this knight, the pawn would capture and that pawn is gone, gone, gone. So now you have to take this pawn away. How do you get this? Oh, we have a rook. We can simply capture this bishop and this pawn I have to capture and then I can reach there. So your opponent is thinking that his king is quite safe, having the two bulldozer rooks around and having a knight and a bishop in front of it and three pawns in front of it and the king is safe. No, no, no. The king is in real trouble because here comes our pattern we have learned and simply rook sacrifice. What? Do you want me to shout like Gotham chess? I won't do that. Oh, come on. So here, what would black play? Black would simply capture. And then, or at that moment, you sacrifice the rook! And then knight goes off. Black have to capture that because you have just destroyed the king's safety and you have gained a piece and black have to capture that. And just when black move their pawns away, your eyes are wide open, thinking that pattern, remembering I solved that pattern so many times that I'm going to just hit it with a checkmate and then your queen goes to g6 and that's the mate.